Oh, 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 it's magic, you know. Good morning, YouTube. What's up, guys? I hope you're safe and healthy and happy and doing okay. We're seeing a pattern here in the running shoe industry where whenever a carbon-plated super shoe comes out onto the market, it's usually paired with a younger brother or sister daily trainer / tempo day shoe. So if you guys are caught up on my videos, it's okay if you're not. I did a first run impressions video of the Metaspeed Sky last week from Asics, and that's basically their brand new carbon plated super shoe for 2021. And with that shoe, another shoe is also releasing, and that is the Magic Speed that I have right here. And yeah, this is basically the tempo day / training companion to that super shoe. This is one of my favorite running shoe categories. So when I got the Magic Speed, I was very curious to see how it would stack up to the competition, most specifically to the Saucony Endorphin Speed, which is one of my favorite, if actually my favorite shoe of 2020. So we'll get to all my thoughts on this shoe today, but before we do that, let's check out how it looks on foot when it's really put to the test. Before I get started today, I do want to let you guys know that this shoe was sent to me by Asics and Running Warehouse. However, they're not paying me to make this video. They can't tell me what to say, and all of my opinions are, as always, my own. The Asics Magic Speed is 6.5 ounces for a women's size 7, but for my size 10.5 women's, this shoe came in at about 8.25 ounces. According to Running Warehouse, the Magic Speed has a 5mm drop with 34mm of stack in the heel and 29 in the forefoot, and that does include the non-removable sock liner. And for me, the Asics Magic Speed is true to size. The upper of the Magic Speed is a lightweight engineered mesh. I suppose the Asics logo is being used as a type of overlay here, though it is very minimal. If we go to the back though, the heel counter is very sturdy and I believe will hold your heel in place. So if you remember from last week, I said that the Metaspeed Sky's upper is really breathable. This is a little bit thicker than that, I think, for durability purposes, but it is still extremely breathable. Certainly feel that air passing through the forefoot. I don't think that's a bad thing, and for me, it's especially not a bad thing heading into some warmer months here on the East Coast. In terms of fit, I do have plenty of room lengthwise in the toe box. I don't feel like I'm crammed up against the top at all. But what I will say is that while I have a very narrow foot, this shoe is pretty narrow, and I don't think that people with wide feet are really going to be at home here. It was snug even for me, so if it's snug for my narrow foot, then I can't imagine what a standard or a wide foot would feel here. The one good thing about that snugness is that I did feel like it locked me down to the platform pretty well. I didn't feel unstable or like there was extra material for me to kind of slide around, which is something I sort of did feel in the Metaspeed Sky. So none of that here, but again, very snug. The laces are pretty thin, not stretchy, they're fine. The tongue is very minimal here, just a thin piece of material. It's not gusseted though, just like in the Metaspeed Sky. I didn't have any issues with this sliding around or anything, so Because it stayed in place, I'll give them a pass. But this back area here is something that I really do want to cover. When I did put this shoe on my foot, immediately before I started running, I felt pressure up against my Achilles, which is never a good thing. I think that's because there is padding in this heel counter, but it's kind of buried in there. It's inside the shoe. Above that cushioning is this like harder portion of material that comes up onto your Achilles. I'm happy to say that I did not experience any irritation, though I'm sure that somebody may if I felt it immediately when I put the shoe on. With that being said, I didn't have any issues with blisters, irritation, hot spots, or anything like that in the Magic Speed. I think the upper is pretty on par with this sort of class of shoes. They are going to feel similar to their bigger brother or sister, the Super Shoe, but they are going to also be more durable for more miles and more frequent use. All right, now on to my favorite part of every shoe, the midsole. Here in the Magic Speed, we have a couple things to talk about. First, we have the foam, which is the Flight Foam Blast that we saw in a lot of people's favorite shoe, the Nova Blast. We also have the Guidesole technology, which is basically a curvature upward of the forefoot. And accompanying all that is a carbon plate in the forefoot just to aid with further propulsion. I took the shoe out on 2 different tempo runs this week. Both were 4 miles, nothing crazy, but I am still recovering from some aches and pains. But I really wanted to see what this shoe could do. I remember Flight Foam Blast in the Nova Blast as being a very squishy, bouncy, soft yet responsive foam. Keep in mind, there's a lot more Flight Foam Blast in the Nova Blast than there is in the Magic Speed. But I gotta say, I don't feel that same sensation that I did in the Nova Blast. This feels a lot more firm, and again, I know that there is less of it here, but it feels a lot more firm, and I wasn't really feeling that bounce and that response that I did feel in the Nova Blast. A common feel for me with shoes in this category is that I'm still doing work, but it feels a little bit easier to get to those paces. I feel that in the Endorphin Speed, and I also feel that in even the Tempo Next Percent, which was really a shoe that I didn't really like that much. In the shoe, it feels like I'm working a little bit harder than in those other shoes. I do feel the plate there, and it does get me up on my toes somewhat, but it just doesn't feel as poppy of a ride as the others. In fact, my first run in this shoe almost kind of felt uncomfortable because of that guide sole. It curves up so much. I mean, you can see it here. It's like an elf shoe. Plus that carbon plate, I was getting some lower calf pain that I don't normally experience. Again, I'm not at my like top shape by any means right now, so that could definitely have something to do with it. But it's still something that I want to point out. To me, this felt a lot less like a plated, more responsive Nova Blast, and it felt more like a slightly more cushioned Hyperspeed. Now, I think with more time in the Magic Speed, I might start to like it a lot better. Even from my first run to my second run, it felt worlds better to be running in this shoe. And I would still pick this over the Tempo Next Percent by Nike 100% of the time, no questions asked. But if you ask me to compare this to the Endorphin Speed from Saucony, I would pick the Endorphin Speed every time, no questions asked about that. But if you've tried the Endorphin Speed and you've tried the Tempo Next Percent and they don't work for you and you don't like them, then this is a very good option. If you're looking for something a little bit firmer with that propulsion forward and a little more cushion than something like a Hyperspeed, then this is the way to go. Turning the shoe over, we see that Asics is using their AHAR rubber pretty much throughout the full length of the shoe. We have some in the forefoot and it dips into both sides of the heel with some exposed Flight Foam Blast there in the heel as well. Pretty much every time I review an Asics shoe, I tell you that it has fantastic rubber, and whether it's Asics Grip or it's AHAR or AHAR Plus, it's all usually pretty damn good and solid and going to provide you tons of durability and traction. That's no exception here. I didn't take this out on any inclement weather days, but I think it'll hold up just fine. One thing that I do have to scratch my head about though is because we have so much rubber here, I do wonder if that sort of negatively impacts the way that the midsole feels for me. Maybe that's what makes it feel a little too firm. Not sure, but it did make me think. The Asics Magic Speed is available for pre-order on runningwarehouse.com for $149.95. It'll be shipping out this month. Honestly, I think that's a pretty fair price for this shoe, and it's in line with a lot of the other shoes in this category and their pricing. So $150, sure, you could see that. If you're interested in pre-ordering a pair of the Magic Speed, you can go do that at the link in the description of this video. Keep in mind that is an affiliate link with Running Warehouse, however that doesn't mean much for you. It just helps out my channel so I can keep making these videos and hopefully help you pick out the perfect shoe for you. So my take on the Magic Speed right now is that it's a good shoe. By no means is it a bad shoe. I just don't think it's my shoe. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that. Maybe in the next couple of runs we'll fall in love and this will be a tale of happily forever after. But for now, I think that it wouldn't be necessarily my first choice. Regardless of how my foot works with this shoe, I do think that Asics did a good job stepping into this category of shoes, and it will work for a lot of people, but we'll see if it starts working better for me. Well guys, that concludes my first run impressions of the Asics Magic Speed. If you enjoyed this video, please like it down below and subscribe, and when you're done with all that, hit the notifications bell down below so you can find out every time I upload a new video. I really like the color of this shoe and the Metaspeed Sky. I think they did a beautiful job here. I have some more videos for you guys next week, but in the meantime, get out there, get on the grind, and don't forget to run like heller. See you next time. Oh, 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 it's magic. Oh, 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 it's magic. You know, oh, 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 it's magic, you know.